let's move on to another international player in the quick service restaurant, coffee, entertainment, dining out, fast food environment, and that is Starbucks. So I've put this one into the show today because it's one of my international favorites. Of course, it is in the coffee retail business, but also sells quite a lot of prepared food items. So that would be all the toasties and the snacks and the muffins and the sandwiches and all that sort of thing. It's principally a brand which has got its greatest brand visibility in the United States, in China, interestingly, and pretty big in Europe. And we all know, I think, that it is coming to South Africa. That's exciting news. $85.7 billion, so a notch below McDonald's, but definitely not all that far down. Price to earnings ratio higher at 32, dividend yield of only 1.1%. This one has done well. I mean, the share chart of this one will reveal coffee, expensive coffee.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they started off in the US, where coffee has been a big part of their lives for many, many years. So you're starting off, I think, with a bit of an advantage there. And what they've done over 2 or 3 decades now is to educate people about different types of coffee. And of course, you know, you go into a Starbucks, and I was most recently in a Starbucks a few weeks ago in the northeast of Scotland, a place called Aberdeen. And, you know, it's always jam-packed. You go into a place like Edinburgh and Glasgow in Scotland. You go into London, it's always pumping. And it's incredible because it's not cheap. And you're talking about £2, £2.50, £3 for a coffee. It's very similar to what you pay for a beer, for example. And it's basically some frothy water and coffee and stuff like that. So that, as you say, the margins
But the coffees are special,
yes,
chosen. People get to know the specific way they like it, or if they have frappuccinos and they have blends and a bit of vanilla essence added and ice and milled up and 3 shots or 2 and extra foam or a flat white. You know, it's all got that sort of detail. People get into it.
It's hugely iconic, and there's a special vocabulary. You know, you go in there, you ask for a skinny with wings or something like that. You know, it's great, and it appeals to a certain type of people. So a certain type of generation, should I say? So I think, you know, as time goes on, even in a country like South Africa, which is way behind the times when it comes to drinking coffee, although there's lots and lots of competition here, don't get me wrong there, I think they will perhaps help to educate people to a far greater extent than has been the case now.
As far as the opportunity is concerned, let's look at the share chart, because this one, unlike McDonald's, has just basically been on a train heading upwards. People may or may not be familiar with the level of the stock. It's done a couple of stock splits, which is quite common in the United States, where it divides itself in half. But that's what the chart looks like. I mean, look at that. You can literally have bought them 5 years ago, well below $20 a share, and now they're at 60. So it's been a real strong performer. And it's on the back of the idea that they are doing 2 things. They're bringing more food choices, they're bringing mobile payment, and then, of course, they are rolling this model out globally. Very big, as I said earlier, in China. It's looking a little expensive, though. Is that a concern, or do you think it's just going to be solid earnings growth and growing into the multiple, etc.?
No, I think it's got a lot of legs left yet, Paul. I mean, they used to have, and they still have an association with Barnes & Noble, for example, in the US, so you go and read your favorite books and drink your coffee. That's, I think, indicative of the kind of things you've been talking about. They're innovative, they're adaptive, so I think they'll continue to adapt, and I think it's still hot.
Yeah, good. And clearly, coffee is attractive because there aren't the concerns around obesity, and in fact, it positions itself as something to do and drink other than, say, colas and sodas and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm hot on this one. Own it personally. We'd like to own it in our portfolios. Locally, we can't because it's internationally listed, but that's all good and well.